objections? It is so decided.
The end of the road. After 2 weeks and countless sleepless nights, these were negotiations with a draining intensity.
May I just say to all delegates, I apologise for the way this process has unfolded, and I am deeply sorry. I also understand the deep disappointment. But I think, as you have noted, it's also vital that we protect this package.
Code red, no planet B. This was effectively an emergency meeting for our world to keep 1.5 alive. Did it deliver?
What's just been gavelled through is literally a betrayal of people and planet. It's a betrayal of the science, it's betrayal of the realities of the climate impacts that are happening and devastating people's lives and livelihoods. And the only people celebrating this outcome are the hundreds of lobbyists from the oil and gas industry, those whose vested interests basically say, you know, we can't see any change, we can't move away from the fossil fuel addiction of our economy.
The Glasgow Climate Pact was nearly derailed at the last minute as India, South Africa and China demanded last-minute amendments, wanting the wording on coal to be changed to phase down instead of phase out. This brought anger from small island states.
This commitment on coal had been a bright spot in this package. It was one of the things we were hoping to carry out of here and back home with pride, and it hurts deeply to see that bright spot dim.
And the pressure of 2 weeks of negotiations finally told on the COP president, Alok Sharma. Away from the nitty-gritty of negotiations, a raft of big announcements were made, hoping to shape the outcome of COP26. On forests, more than 100 countries pledged to end and reverse deforestation by 2030, bankrolling $19 billion to do it. Another 100 countries pledged to cut 30% of highly toxic methane emissions by 2030. It was declared the end of coal is in sight as more than 40 countries committed to shift away from the fossil fuel. On finance, corporations controlling 40% of global assets pledged to align themselves to the target of a 1.5 degrees Celsius warming limit. And the rabbit out of the hat, US and China surprising delegates with a declaration that vowed to boost cooperation between the world's biggest emitters. But many say all that just means nothing unless nations act on their promises. As the usual suspects blocked progress in the talks, nations like Saudi Arabia, Russia and Australia, the voice on the streets was loud and angry.
What do we want? When do we want it? Now!
This is no longer a climate conference. This is now a global North greenwash festival.
Phasing out fossil fuels and climate finance were both major stumbling blocks to consensus in the negotiations themselves, and the bid to get countries to up their commitments every year as opposed to every 5 years. And so the process that began with the Paris Agreement in 2015 continues, but the urgency for action grows with each passing day.
The next UN climate conference will be held in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt in a year. In the meantime, will the pledges be honoured? Will the promises be kept? Will countries return with greater ambition? Because one thing is certain, time is running out. Nick Clark, Al Jazeera, Glasgow.